work regarding like nurses getting taken advantage of, particularly those that are migrating. What work have you done in that field? But also, I guess, do you still think that nurses are being like human trafficked, like on the down low?
You're talking to the right people. Dr. Mary Joy Garcia D and myself, through our years of experience here, we have learned of cases of those nurses who were taken advantage of. My personal journey, and Mary Joy can tell you about the Sentosa nurses in New York, and I could tell you about an imprisoned nurse in New Jersey. That was very, very highlight of my chapter presidency in New Jersey. Was we learned that she was in jail because somebody took advantage of her papers. She thought her papers were being renewed all the time. Apparently it wasn't so. So when she went to Newark IRS to check her paperwork, they put handcuffs on her and would have her deported back to the Philippines right away. PNAA learned about her. We rallied behind her. We did community outreach. We fundraised for her. We did so many bake sales because she had no money. She lost her apartment, her work, her car, and she wasn't telling anyone at home what happened to her. She was truly alone, except for PNAA members, PNA New Jersey members. Mary Joy was there too, who visited her in jail. And through work with PNA America, PNA New Jersey, and other chapters who helped, we were able to release her from detention, and we were able to clear her. And now she has her life back. Was able to work, got married, and I believe she has 2 children right now. She was one shining example of what PNAA can do for people who were really taken advantage of. So Mary Joy and I have been members of the Human Rights Committee, which is a very important committee that PNA America has, and that listens, keeps our ear open to whatever bad happenings to the nurses. You know, are their contracts wrong? Are they taking advantage of recruiters, of their employers? Because it happens. You're the foreigner and you're coming to this land, and people look at you differently, or people take advantage of you because they think you may not know better. But our organization really keeps our ear to the ground, and we have collaborated with the Philippine Embassy, POLO, CGFNS, what else, Mary Joy?
Migrant Heritage
Commission, and all the community groups to make sure that these nurses are protected. So we continue to be very vigilant. There are many, many cases.
Wow. Madelyn, you're the first of our interviewees that brought this up. So it's very new to me. I didn't really know that Filipino nurses were getting taken advantage of in the immigration process. Has this always been a problem?
There has been problems since the nurses has come here. And I would say a lot of nurses came here in the 60s, right? There's a lot of the waves of Filipinos coming to the US was the sacadas then, and then after the war, military brides and military families. And in the 60s, 70s, now you have the professionals, the nurses, the teachers, but mostly the nurses. Yes, they have been taken advantage of. And if you heard, I would go back to history, and in Chicago, where the 3 nurses were charged with killing 10 ICU patients, they were put in jail. Even before they were found guilty of anything, they were already in jail, and they were already prejudiced against. And that's how PNA America came to be. The chapters in America were already there. There's a PNA New York, California, New Jersey, etc. But they were each on their own chapter activities. But what put them all together was this case in Chicago, where these 3 nurses, the nurses were charged of killing the ICU patients. They were later found to be not guilty, but of course it already has affected them, their lives and their reputations and all that. That's how PNAA came together to say, we have to become an organization that would help the nurses. not
Is
just
it?
because of these events, but because also of other issues like prejudicial treatment, difficulty in passing the boards, difficulty in getting the right shift. Filipino nurses tended to be assigned mostly in evenings and nights, while we would notice that our white counterparts would be assigned on day shift at that time. So I would see more variations now, but it was the practice then.
I think it was in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Ann Arbor, Michigan, correct.
Yeah.
Thank you, because I'm trying to remember. It's Ann Arbor, Michigan. And that's Perez and Narciso were the names of those nurses who were charged with murder. And those kinds of activities of being prejudicial to immigrant or working visa nurses has progressed as we went on, 70s, 80s, 90s, and PNAA has learned of many. So sometimes one administration has a load case of 10 cases here and there or 5 cases here and there, and we try our best to set it up already. That way, just starting from the Philippines, the processes should be already ethical from the start, from the Philippines, and not just putting out fires here in the US, but we have to collaborate. So now we have the Office of International,
The Global Affairs Committee.
Global Affairs Committee that takes care of that. And they came out with a handbook on what the nurses should know when applying for work in the USA from start to finish. So that's a product, again, of PNA America in trying to advocate for our nurses.